Will 2016 be kinder to energy companies? On this energy edition of Industry Focus. Greetings, fools. I am Sean O'Reilly, joining you here from Fool headquarters in Alexandria, Virginia. It is New Year's Eve, December 31st, 2015, and joining me to ring in the new year is Tyler Crowe and Taylor Muckerman. Happy New Year, guys.
You too.
Happy New Year. Well, not quite yet.
Any resolutions you're going to make?
Are we going to talk about our energy resolutions?
Ooh, that's good.
Are we?
Are we cool?
I don't know. Well, maybe.
All
Maybe
right.
we'll see at the end.
Okay.
All right, fine. We can wait. All right. Well, we learned last week that we all have horrible track records about predictions, like everybody else. But
Let's
we're gonna
make some
anyway.
anyways.
Yeah,
Why
why
not?
not? Let's just do it. Who cares?
Everybody loves predictions and then being like, shame.
I
you
should-
were
As
wrong.
long as we admit up front that we don't believe in them, then it's fine.
Yeah. Well, I'll just add a disclosure. Nobody make any decisions off of the next 20 minutes.
None whatsoever. This is purely for entertainment purposes only.
So, Taylor,
What's up?
what trend are you watching in 2016?
So I don't know if it's a trend, but I'm wanting to see if Saudi Arabia is gonna back down. If they're gonna decide, yeah, maybe producing as much as we're producing isn't the best idea for everybody.
But Taylor, they're trying to capture market
I
share.
know, but maybe they do it alone. Maybe they convince Russia and Iraq to hop on board.
That's
too.
actually what they want. They want to get the Russians to.
Well, because Russia's producing at record levels and Iraq's producing at
So
record
is the
levels
United
right
States.
now, and so is the United States. But they know we're not going to back down. So I think maybe they can convince Russia or Iraq to do it, or maybe they just realize we're a little overboard right now.
If they don't do something, what's the point of OPEC if they're not going to do it? If they're going to leave things to market forces, what's the point of OPEC?
Right now, I don't. There isn't a point to it after this last meeting because
They even admitted
there's
there's
no
no
seal,
point.
there's
Meets
no
up in
ceiling.
Vienna.
Yeah, it's just like a party twice a year, and they only met for 7 hours, and then they got the hell out of there.
Really?
And that's a long meeting.
Yeah.
They said that was a long
didn't know
meeting.
that.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was a Friday meeting, and then they all left.
I guess they're not. I mean, it was in Vienna. I guess none of them are really into skiing because
Yeah.
I could definitely find something to do in a weekend
Totally.
in Austria. But
They said they all left angrily and got on their private planes and flew back to their country. So, I don't know what the point of it is. Maybe it's a cigar club for
For sheiks.
for sheiks. Well, no, because you have Venezuela in there, and they're not very chic-y. So
the most politically correct of the industry focus
Isn't
shows.
that-
right
I mean,
now.
it's
No,
true.
just screwing with you.
so that's
This guy.
my
Okay. Cool.
maybe not a trend, but I'm hoping to see their opinion change.
Got it.
Yeah.
Cool. Tyler.
This is a 2-year continuation almost of something I've been watching since 2013. It was a prediction I made back in 2013, and everybody was like, and I said back then, I was like, a coal company's going to go bankrupt. Like one of the big ones going to go bankrupt. And, you had one go. And then last year I said another one's going to go bankrupt because if you look at the market forces that are attacking coal right now, it just seemed prime for it. There was a lot of debt-laden companies. And lo and behold, who was it? I think Alpha Natural Resources this year did. And going into 2015, the market conditions for coal have not improved at all in these past couple of years. And in some ways, it's actually gotten worse. The price of coal is still going down. And looking at the pressures that are being put on coal,
Including natural gas, which is at.
I'm not talking about environmental regulation pressure. I'm talking purely
Economic.
switching cost to a more economical source, such as natural gas,
That also happens to be cleaner.
that just happens to pass
So they
muster.
say.
What they say.
So they say.
So they say, yeah, you could make the argument on leaks of methane and things like that with natural gas. But let's just looking at it from a purely market standpoint. I mean, natural gas is, I believe, actually below $2 per 1,000 cubic feet right now at trading at Henry Hub. And when you have prices that low,
I got a 20. Can I have 10 cubic feet?
Exactly.
Yes, you
You could have 10,000 cubic feet of
Right now.
natural gas.
In fact, I got 40. I'll
Yeah.
Fill
take
full HQ.
You could start arbitraging natural gas with that much money. That's how
This
cheap
is
it
like,
is.
woo.
So when you have that much pressure being put on the coal market, and there's still a lot of debt-laden companies in this space, I don't see. I want to watch this year if we see an even larger correction in terms of other companies pulling the plug, scaling back production, and just really I guess you could say, ripping the Band-Aid off really, really hard here. I'm looking at companies like Peabody Energy, largest coal producer in the United States, been hemorrhaging money for years and has not been able to cut production enough to bring the market back into balance. That I'm fascinated to see what happens with this
Peabody's
market.
got a market cap of $140 million, and it's the largest coal company in the United States.
Yep.
All right.
I believe if you were to go back and look at that, they're down like 98, 99%.
Is that, did they do like a reverse split in there to get the $7? Because that's what their stock is.
Yes, they did. They did do a split.
I was like, yeah, there's no way.
Speaking of reverse, I think Halcone just did a reverse split.
Oh, of course they did.
Yeah.
I mean,
because they were in the 20 cents range or something like that.
Yeah.
All you need to do is do a reverse
split.
So moving on to the story that everybody really wants to know about. Will oil finally rebalance? And will the price go up in 2016? Who wants to go first?
I'll go. I don't know what we mean by rebalancing, but
Will supply and demand? Because it fell supposedly because we had too much supply. So there's that.
it might come close. But I don't think prices are going to breach $60 or $70 a barrel. But I wouldn't be surprised if the sector is a top 3, top 5 performing sector in the market for investors.
Motion seconded. Tyler?
So much of when we talk about oil and gas, like its ability to rebound, it's always to talk about, will Saudi Arabia produce or not produce, or what's going to happen here. But one of the most critical things is, we were talking about this before the show, is the difference between basically the physical properties of oil reservoirs and the amount of investment that goes into the sector. This past year alone, $220 billion worth of investment has been pulled out of energy. And I'm not talking about on like the markets. I'm talking about companies scaling back capital expenditures. So that much less money is getting poured into reinvigorate reservoirs, drill for new oil.
And these aren't just shale.
No, not just
drills.
shale.
These are long tail, big projects.
And if you look at the decline rate across the world, you're looking at a decline without reinvestment of 3 to 4%. And as that declines and demand does increase, you're gonna get a rebalancing. And at the levels of spending, there's been a lot of analysis on the difference in spending, what's going to mean for production projections from people. The widely held belief is that the market will rebalance towards the end of 2016 in terms of how much is being supplied and how much is actually in demand. So what that means for prices, I don't have the slightest of clue. And I don't think anybody in this room, in this building, in this state, in this country, or even on this planet knows.
That's what's driven me crazy all year, is because you have like Goldman Sachs and all these guys making price predictions and everything. It's like all of you were calling $90 plus right before the crash started in November 2014. Mm-hmm. All of you thought 85, 90.
That's how it always happens.
Perpetuity.
People started, just to change sectors, people just started writing off GoPro. They were loving it when it IPO'd.
Right.
Then after it dropped like 70%.
Now it's a sell.
Everyone hates it. Everyone hates it.
Now
Everyone
it's a sell, down
hates
70%.
It happens with every company. All the price targets for anything are lowered after the price of it, the actual good is lowered, or this actual stock is lowered. They raise their price targets. It's all momentum based. No one gets out in front of these things. Yeah. Goldman actually thinks that oil will hit $20 or could, but they were, like you just said, $90 predictions to $20 prediction.
Everybody thought $90 forever.
I mean, Goldman might actually be the prototypical case of better to be lucky than good.
Right.
Because right around January of this year, 2015, they said that oil was going to trade below $40. It was going to be in that $35 to $40 range. And a lot of people said they were crazy, and they laid out a ton of reasons why they thought it was going to happen. But if you look at what has happened this year, the reasons that we're at that level aren't correlated with what Goldman Sachs said.
It's probably more they got lucky because OPEC and Saudi Arabia decided.
And it's better to be lucky than good. And, maybe there's somewhere in Goldman Sachs that they're like, running around giving each other high fives in the office, and they're planning a super awesome Christmas party and be like, yeah, we nailed this one.
Everything is awesome.
So
everything is cool when you're part of Goldman Sachs.
Nice riff.
I really, really hope that they use that as their I want that to be their jingle on all of their commercials. That'd be great.
Do they have? No, they don't.
I don't think they have a jingle.
They can make that as
They
part
need
of
to
their
be no stinking
intern
commercials.
introductory video, though.
There you go.
That's true.
Intern
yeah.
introductory video.
Drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah. All right. Well, before we move on to talking stocks for the next year, I wanted to point our listeners to a newly redesigned focus.fool.com. There you'll discover a special offer to join the Motley Fool's Stock Advisor newsletter for all industry-focused listeners. All loyal IF listeners have access to a special discount on Stock Advisor that works out to $129 for a full 2-year subscription. And if you join as part of your new Stock Advisor subscription, you can check out exclusive content from Tyler Crowe and I's recent trip to Houston, Texas, where we interviewed executives from National Oilwell Varco and Distribution Now. That was a pretty good time. We had
Great time.
hung out in Houston.
We talked about
Weather
it a
was
couple
nice.
weeks now. The weather wasn't that great. I mean,
Oh, that's right. It rained. I'm sorry.
But whatever.
Yeah. It was a
How
good
was
time.
your other trip to Houston?
Yeah. Hopefully we'll go again soon. All right. So, guys, 2016 was rough for, I don't know, everybody's energy portfolios. I'm interested to hear what stocks need to prove it to you in 2016. So not only just perform well or operationally or otherwise, but you don't trust them to execute in the current environment.
Royal Dutch Shell.
You don't trust the Dutch?
I mean, they just spent $70 billion on an acquisition. I don't think it's going to pan out.
That you
in
apparently didn't agree with.
2016. Well, I mean, they upped their reserves by 25%, but they spent $71 billion to do it. They're a little bit more into the LNG game with this company, but their locations don't overlap. LNG could be the future, but it's not 2016. So I think some write-downs could occur. They've already announced over 10,000 layoffs through this deal. So they're cost-cutting. Who knows if that's because of efficiencies or because they need to.
Right.
So I think 2016, Royal Dutch Shell is going to have to prove it.
Mr. Crowe, who needs to prove it to you?
There's so many companies. Do I have to just pick one?
No. So,
All right.
if I read you right,
I'll
what
prove
you're
it. Here
saying
we
is
go.
the whole
Ready?
sector just needs to prove it to
No,
me.
no, not the whole sector. I think there are some good apples in there, but independent oil and gas producers in the United States.
That was my second runner-up.
Prove
My
it.
first runner-up.
Prove it. There's a couple good ones that have shown that they can be profitable, that they can be well managed, keep themselves from getting in too much debt trouble. I think EOG Resources is a good example of it. For all these other guys who lived under the world of cheap financing, expensive oil, basically the perfect conditions to produce oil and give yourself a springboard to become responsible managers. Well, now you've been punished, and now you need to prove to us in 2016 that you can more responsibly handle the shale situation, improve efficiencies, find a way to be a profitable business on a free cash flow basis, and actually run in that sort of way. And until I see that, I'm still going to be very, very skeptical, at least as my own personal investing in independent E&Ps.
Do they learn or do they rhyme with history is what we're trying to decide here.
And as
Land grab is over, so that was a big part of it. They had to drill to keep their acreage.
And
Right.
That's over.
That's not you can't lean on that anymore. That's for sure.
So
cool. So, as a complete opposite end of the spectrum from your very deep and insightful analysis of why or why not E&P producers domestically should exist, I want to do some harebrained predictions, just absolutely crazy predictions for 2016.
All right. I'm going to make some.
Will Saudi Arabia cut by 5 million barrels a day? Well,
Here's mine. I'm going to make some enemies when I say this. The Halliburton Baker Hughes merger will not happen. My
because
guess,
of regulators, I assume.
a combination of
it's
things.
over a year in the.
It's been over a year in the making already. It already was announced earlier in December that they were pushing the final decision date all the way out until April 30th, because now the U.S. antitrust is starting to sink its teeth into it. We had talked about this a couple months ago when Australia and Europe started talking about antitrust, and now the U.S., which is the largest market or market share in terms of that this combined company would have is really starting to sink their teeth and say, we don't like the looks of this. And so my thing is if I don't think, not only do I think it's not going to happen, I don't think they should do it, considering all the antitrust, because my biggest fear for them would be is they do it, they have to strip themselves or of the cupboard of all of these business segments that they have and basically go back to the size that Halliburton was before the merger happened anyways. And it just doesn't seem worth it to do it. If they were to go through it, I think they're going to strip themselves down of so many profitable businesses that it,
in order to satisfy the regulators.
To satisfy the regulators, it's not going to make it worth it in the first place. So my guess is it doesn't happen. Halliburton gives up, shells over $3 billion to Baker Hughes for thanks for your time, and they move on.
Wow.
By Baker Hughes.
That's actually, yeah. Is that your crazy prediction?
No, Halliburton tried it. It might not work. No, but if they get $3 billion in cash,
that looks great.
That's not too bad. A little windfall. My harebrained prediction: the summer 2016 Olympics is a complete debacle because Petrobras and Vale and all of these other companies.
Oh my gosh, this actually might not be that
fund
crazy.
Brazil's.
That might not be that crazy.
I saw the other day that they're going to plan on making athletes pay for their own air
That's
conditioning.
good. What if you were to go pick some lottery numbers right now?
Oh, and it's not just that too. I mean,
Their power, their infrastructure
one of the
is shite. They run out of power because it's all built on water. So if there's a drought,
I've been I do some coverage for premium side, and they have some investments in Brazil, and one of the ones it brought us to was if you look at some of the water related or like water rafting
utilities over there.
I'm talking whitewater rafting,
events.
a lot of things like that. I mean, they're in polluted water. It's gross, and it's almost to the point like we can't afford to clean it up to get it ready. And how great is it going to be when you're having?
The Olympics are an expensive affair. Too.
Yes, They can't just reuse the World Cup stadiums they built. They have to build a whole new facility.
And it's all in Rio. It's not like it's spread across all of Brazil.
Right.
This is in a country where the president is very, very possibly going to get impeached.
This is good.
All of their money comes from resources, and resources are in the tank, and they've been in the tank.
This is a very Muckerman for Prez. That's good. That's a good,
I like that one.
That's really...
And way to tie it into the energy sector, too. I was like, where is he going?
Rio 2016.
Reaching.
Not happening. All right.
I do have a crazy one. And
Lay it on us.
I think that there's going to be a modest supply disruption somewhere in the Middle East with one of the major oil producers. And my crazy prediction is that you get a big spike in oil because of it.
Interesting you say that. I thought, this is the world we're living in now with crazy production. ISIS. If you had ISIS like 5 years ago, even 3 or 4 years ago.
Oil would be 150 or something.
Through the roof. They're disrupting Iraq's and Syria's oil production and supply lines.
Right.
Egypt, not a very big producer at all. When they had the Arab Spring, prices were going nutso.
None of that.
And prices continue to fall.
Arguably worse right now.
Continue to fall.
I can actually remember a couple of years ago, and I almost kicked myself for having that thought and not really thinking it through. We were at a time where, it wasn't ISIS specifically, but there was major disruptions in Iraq because of civil conflict that were holding back production. We had Iran that was held back by sanctions. Libya had basically shut down. Nigeria was under force majeure for a lot of its exports with companies like Shell because of theft and
Nigeria alone is begging for higher prices from OPEC right now, by the way.
We had this whole situation, and oil prices weren't moving. I mean, it was in the $90, $100 range for a couple of years. With all of these things happening, my short-term thinking at the time was like, wow, America's done an amazing job here keeping oil prices where they were.
But you should have been bearish, is what
it should have been $200 a barrel based on all of that conflict going on. And then, I don't know, for some reason the thought was, oh man, what if all those guys did all of a sudden come back?
Yeah, what if they're all producing at once again, which is now
what's happening now. Yeah. I mean, even Libya is still well under production capacity.
If they came back, there'd be another 500,000. Anyway, no, my thing is this, you look at how much we're oversupplied. I mean, correct me, 1.5 million barrels or something at worst. I don't know.
Of what we're actually producing, of what we could
Yeah.
produce, we're oversupplied by probably 5 to 10.
Right. And you get a decent supply disruption. Boom. I mean, that
Yeah, it
goes
would have
away.
to be pretty major, I think.
But, ISIS does something crazy. I don't know.
They're already doing crazy stuff, but they would have to, with oil, yes.
Yeah.
Crazy-er.
Crazy-er.
That is my harebrained prediction.
So there you go, people. We've got Halliburton, Baker Hughes not making it happen. 2016 Olympics in the tank.
In the shambles.
That's a good one. I really do like that.
We thought it's been like a slow burn. Like people thought
I do.
China's
That
Summer
is
Olympics
good.
were going to be terrible because of pollution. People thought Russia Winter Olympics were going to be terrible because Sochi wasn't a winter city.
Yeah.
Oh, you
now-
think that's bad? What about Beijing's Winter Olympics in
Yeah, bring that on.
2022?
Oh
I can't
my
remember which one.
gosh.
Oh my! As somebody who is an avid winter sports guy, I'm dreading a Beijing Olympics.
It'll all be fake snow.
I
Don't
know.
you worry. All right, so before we ring in the new year, top stock picks for 2016. Oof.
Woof, woof, woof. Well, I think it's
Well, you said you're
fairly
relatively bullish on the sector.
Yeah, I
so,
was
don't
thinking.
know.
Well, I'm relatively bullish on the sector. I don't know what the whole market's going to do,
Right.
but I think it'll be in relation to all the other sectors. I think it'll perform well. Whether it produces positive returns or not, I don't know. But my top stock, I'm gonna probably have to, because of the low price market we have right now and the reliance on efficiencies and knowing what you're getting yourselves into ahead of time. I'm staking myself to Core Labs.
You jerk! You took mine.
Oh, Core Labs for the win!
All right, I'm gonna have to pick another one.
You don't have to.
No,
it's
I
your
am.
top
I
stock.
am.
You
I'm
can't.
gonna.
You can't like say
I
it's
had
not
a
your
sec-
top
I had a
stock
second
anymore.
place one.
Okay, so
Second place.
this
So
is Tyler's
collectively,
second
it's Core
stock.
Labs squared.
Core Labs squared. And Tyler's giving us a bonus stock.
So bonus for me, because, and this is actually a large part because we talked to these guys when we were down in Houston, giving people a little exclusive access on this one. Distribution Now.
Okay.
They've been absolutely hammered just as much as everybody else.
I can't wait to talk about them in a couple of weeks on this show.
Oh, I know,
It's
right?
going to be.
But
I learned a lot from
one of the
those
things
guys.
that really stood out for me when they were talking, and one of the things that you talk about if we were to start to see a modest recovery in prices that leads to some drilling activity, Distribution Now is the first phone call from producers because
got to repair a rig. It's been sitting there.
They're the ones with the spare parts. They're the ones with everything that the industry needs right then and there. And when the recovery happens, they're actually going to be one of the first people to see the recovery because
The phone starts ringing.
Yeah, producers aren't going to start getting better until they're up their production on those with prices. So they get it even before the producers get it. And if you're looking at something like that, on a 2016 rebound, again, this is a guess, but my guess is since they're such an early responder to drilling activity and oil prices, I think Distribution Now could have a really good year.
Got to make the phone call before you start drilling.
Deep.
It's true. Leading indicators.
Perfect. Cool. I'm going to go with EOG just because I've been plugging it for the last 6 months. And
Boring. Same.
oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Core Labs squared. Am I boring you with my stock pick?
I like EOG if you want to invest in a producer.
They are a rock.
But
they have held up.
Their
super
value,
well.
they have held up, which might be the issue.
Yeah.
They might have held up too well
They're a rock. To what? How do you hold
in
up?
terms of like their stock price,
Valuation.
because
Fine.
maybe people just like wanted to remain in energy and they flew to EOG, and that's why the
To remain conservative.
yeah.
Rock.
It's a rock. That's why his stock price isn't down as far as the market.
rock.
Maybe they
so
make an
wrong.
That was a
acquisition.
really
and
bad Bob Seger impression.
was.
by
I
the way.
tried. I'm sorry.
You're good at most.
I have never once claimed to be a good singer in my life. So,
Don't start today. Maybe that's your personal
hey, who
New
sings
Year's
that?
resolution.
Maybe you should let him sing it. All right. So, guys, Happy New Year.
You too.
You
Do
too.
we have any champagne anywhere? No.
No, just tea.
Tea. Lame. Oh, well. All right. That is it for us, folks. If you're a loyal listener and have questions or comments, we would love to hear from you. Just email us at industryfocus@fool.com. Again, that is industryfocus@fool.com. As always, people in this program may have interest in the stocks they talk about, and the Motley Fool may have formal recommendations for or against those stocks. So don't buy or sell anything based solely on what you hear on this program. Tyler Crowe and Taylor Muckerman, Happy New Year and Fool on.